So after that video, I'm sure you're all pretty pissed off. Sure, everybody's feeling it in their heart the way I am, seeing the humiliation, the degradation, the humiliation, the violence, the attacks on not just white people, but everything we stand for, every moral value that we hold under attack right now. This is an unprecedented political emergency that is going on in the United States today. And not just America, Europe, and the world. The white race is under attack, and it's unambiguous. It's not hidden. They tell us every day. Every single day, elite plutocrats, media figures, we know who runs the media, every one of them, Jonathan Greenblatt of the ADL is out there telling you who he wants suppressed, what he wants suppressed, whose statue he wants coming down, and we all know who it is that's under attack, and it's us. It's us. It's us. So what are we going to do about it? We have to answer this. This cannot go unanswered. This cannot go unanswered. We are here with a response. So what we are here for tonight, we are announcing the formation of a new political party, a new political vehicle that is going to fight for you, for white rights, for our people in America and the world. So we are told every day by pundits, by intellectuals, by people on TV, people in universities, we're told every day, our nation is about ideas. It's about ideas, concepts, freedom, equality, liberty. No, a nation is people. Yes! A nation is built by its people. You cannot have those moral, philosophical foundations without the people who spawned those ideas in the first place. And the ideas of freedom, liberty, justice, those come out of the European intellectual tradition, the European philosophical tradition, the white philosophical tradition. Those are our ideas, our concepts. Our nations are built on them. Do you think that there are any other nations built on those concepts anywhere in the world? That is our heritage, our legacy. You cannot have a nation of rights, a nation of justice, a nation of liberty without a white majority forever. Yet today, our country, founded by white men with the intention of protecting the sovereign rights of the people, refuses to protect our rights, specifically refuses to protect our rights on racial grounds. Meanwhile, the rights of anarchists, of criminals, and of wealthy plutocrats are totally protected. Yet where are we? We have no protection. How many times have we seen the familiar scene? A Black Lives Matter riot is going on. Anarchists are flooding the streets. Buildings are burning. Statues are toppling. And an unfortunate motorist makes a wrong turn. What happens next? We've all seen it. There's an altercation. Anarchists attack the car. Maybe somebody gets a bump on the head. Maybe they get a bruise on the knee. They get a hangnail. That driver, he's a terrorist. White supremacist terrorists, lock him up! Lock him up! Fuck that! Excuse me. Those men are innocent. Innocent people. Innocent people are getting framed and called terrorists merely for driving in, as is their right to drive on a public street, for driving in and noticing that, wow, okay, the government has now allowed these streets to be taken over by black anarchist rioters, and they apparently just have the right to ambush and attack innocent pedestrians and motorists. That's just their right now. They're just given that. The government's just decided, we're just going to give that to them? No! We're just going to give that to them. But no! Is that just? Is that right? Is that justice? No!
James Fields!
James Fields, exactly, was a template for this. A young man had his entire... This man, unless we win, this man will spend the rest of his life in jail. Are we going to let that happen?
No! No!
No, absolutely not. So how do we get to this point? Barack Obama was elected 2008. A lot of leftists had a lot of hope in this. Hope and change. Hope and change. We're going to have fair economic policy. We're going to have a peaceful Middle East. Did any of that happen? No. What happened? Too big to fail banks got TARP bailouts, trillions of dollars in bailouts. The assassination program, the drone program, ISIS, and after the creation of ISIS, as we know, sponsored by Tel Aviv, ISIS created in Tel Aviv. What happened? Bombings, the Bataclan, other terrorist bombings, massacres, the Christmas truck attack, the truck attack in Nice. This is the result of the Obama foreign policy in Europe. Hundreds of Europeans dead in brutal terrorist attacks. That was directly because of Obama's foreign policy. Despite all of his claims about being peaceful, he wins a Nobel Peace Prize, and this is what we get. On top of that, every corporation and bank gets bigger and more powerful as our people are losing jobs, getting addicted to opiates, increasing white death from hopelessness and despair. All of this as the most fair and just and hopeful president in a generation comes along. So what happens in 2016? It's time for Donald Trump. Now, just like a lot of you in this room, I was pro-Trump at first. He promised us a lot. He seemed to break every rule. We're going to build a wall. We're going to deport illegals. We're going to bring back jobs from China and elsewhere. We're going to get out of the Middle East. We're going to stop with the needless wars in the Middle East. No war on Syria and all such things like that. What's the reality of the Donald Trump presidency? We have the most Jewish president in American history by their own statements. The Golan Heights are now the Dolan Heights, the Donald Trump Heights. We have gotten more involved in the Middle East. 2 bombings of a sovereign nation, Syria, that we're not at war with. The repudiation of a peace treaty with a sovereign nation, Iran, and other provocations meant to lead to a war in the Middle East. That's the intention of this. On top of that, what happened to the anti-immigration platform? What happened to the deportation of illegal immigrants? Well, figures like Jeff Sessions, Chris Kobach, not only are they frozen out, they've been insulted and humiliated by the White House. They have no room for anybody like that in the GOP of today. Nobody even wants to talk about immigration. They're now talking about increasing H-1B workers. What happens with that? Well, white men that work in the high-tech industry train their replacements, and then guess what happens next week? Well, I'm sorry, we don't need you anymore. Please pack your things. By the way, we have a security guard to escort you out of the building. Is that fair? Is that fair? Is that what we want? Trump was there to take care of the demographic problem, and instead it's only escalated. It's only escalated. We have Amazon.com, a virtual monopoly over the retail space, paying 0 taxes. And Jeff Bezos, the CEO, owns the Washington Post, an ostensible enemy of Donald Trump. Yet he still won't do anything to retaliate against him, proving once and for all this idea that his hands are tied or he can't do this or that. It's all fake. It's all an act. He doesn't want to do anything for us. If he did, he could, and he doesn't want to because he's in the pocket of Jared Kushner and Zionist Jews. Political censorship is out of control in America. And they don't want to do it with the government. Oh, we got the First Amendment, so we can't intervene in this. But corporations, huge, massive public corporations, they have the same right to free speech as the rest of us. That's a garbage concept. What really happens is that an unelected Jewish lobby group, the Anti-Defamation League of B'nai B'rith, sets the agenda for what 300 million non-Jewish Americans can and cannot say, and every corporation falls in line either because they are just right in line with the ADL's agenda or they are too afraid to go against them because they bought every politician, they bought every company, they have somebody on the board of every company, either that or maybe they've got something else on some of these people. I don't think I need to go further in elaborating what that might be. After the Jeffrey Epstein and the Ghislaine Maxwell scandal, we have to wonder How many people in public life do these people have a file on? How many of them do they have a file on? How many? That's what we have. It's not an exaggeration. We've had Pizzagate, we've had things like this, but in the end, these kinds of ideas are getting at some kind of a truth. The elite are hopelessly corrupt. They're in the pocket of a corrupt cabal, and they have no ability to represent us or any desire to represent us, because as soon as they try, that folder that we've got on you, that's going to get opened up, and boy, we don't want to even see what's inside that. So, as you can guess, you probably noticed the date of this speech is not accidental. The anniversary of Charlottesville was just a couple of days ago, and I want to talk about that for a second. Now, Charlottesville was in fact one of the most important political events of the last several years, if not the last several decades. And Charlottesville was important because it laid bare every issue that we are dealing with now. We foresaw it. We saw what was coming. We tried to warn America. We raised the red flag, or maybe some other flags. But we told America what was going to happen. And in fact, it's come true. 3 years later, the same groups that some of us in this room had to face off against are now running the streets, terrorizing Americans, burning things down, vandalizing statues, vandalizing our heritage, and attacking people and killing people indeed. It's important because until that day, it was unprecedented how many men came out for this cause, for the cause of white people, white Americans, and in fact white people around the world. The elite was not expecting that. That is why they have not been able to give it up. It is why we see media narratives that are just insanely malicious and deceptive, promoted day after day, year after year. The deadly Charlottesville rally, the people, the town under siege, my God, it's so terrible. Bullshit. Bullshit. We went down there as American white men to exercise our God-given and constitutional right to speak on our own behalf. And we were attacked by the same people that are burning America today. It was about the Robert E. Lee statue, but that's not all it was about. Because we understand that if they're allowed to tear down that statue, it doesn't stop there, and we were right. It doesn't stop there. Now they're doing Christopher Columbus, Thomas Jefferson, Teddy Roosevelt, and whatever we think about any of those figures, it doesn't matter, because to them and to us, they are white men of note in history, and they have to be torn down as a precursor to tearing us down. That is the ultimate result of all of this. When you tear down a people's symbols, it is a precursor to tearing them down, something that they will warn you about. As long as the so-called victims of this are not white, but white people in the minds of the elite, in the minds of the people in the media, in the minds of the intellectuals, and what they want you to think, cannot possibly be victims, because as soon as you start to assert a right as a white man, what happens? Well, you don't even really exist. You don't even really exist. That's obviously not true. I mean, I'm seeing all of you here today. It's obviously not true. So after Charlottesville, we get an explosion of political censorship, corporate censorship. It's not done by the government, so it's okay, right? It's all right. It's just private company. They've got a right to do it. Why should a private corporation worth billions of dollars have more rights than an individual American citizen? That's not the intention of this document. That's not the intention of the Constitution or the founders. That's not morally or philosophically correct. It doesn't make any sense. Free speech is all right, and it's all right because free speech as white men to engage in political discourse in the public square is our right.
Yes!
We have a God-given, a moral and philosophical right to do that. And if you deny that to us on the basis of, well, it's a private company, well, we can't do anything about that. Well, then you're the bad person. You're the bad person. You are denying our right to engage on our own behalf in the public square. At the same time, you grant it to every other group, no matter how tiny or how alien they are to our country. Yeah.
Child molesters!
Even child molesters and pedophiles apparently are allowed to make their case in the public square in America, but not white men! So, after that protest, anarchist rioters were seriously empowered. They were empowered to dox people, to snitch on people, harass people, get your life ruined, get your income ruined, intimidate your family, call your mom, tell on you, call your boss, get you fired, destroy your livelihood, destroy your reputation. And you couldn't say anything about these people. And what's the result? What's the result? They're now burning down cities in America. They apparently got the message, you can do whatever you want. And they're doing what they want. They're doing what they want. And we see what they want to do and what they've always wanted to do. They want to destroy white people. It's that simple. People try to intellectualize it. Oh, it's anarcho-communism, it's this or that. No, it's racial. It's primarily racial, it's anti-white. That's where they see the primary threat coming from. That's why we are the only political tendency that is attacked like this. You can be a conservative, you can talk about low taxes, you can talk about the free market, you can talk about whatever the hell it is they talk about. No one gives a shit. Nobody cares. It's not a threat to anybody, and in fact, it's useful to them. But the Charlottesville event was not actually in vain. This is another reason it caused so much panic amongst the elite. 62% of Americans agreed with our stance that the Robert E. Lee statue should not come down. Despite all the lies and the media distortions about the events of that day, 82% of Republican voters agreed it was the Antifa, the anarchists, and the Black Lives Matter protesters that caused the trouble. So even after all the media programming, in fact, it was so bad that the conservative media made a decision. They're not even going to try to oppose Charlottesville philosophically because they can't do it. It won't sell with their people. So they're going to tell their people it was just fake. It was a false flag. It didn't happen. That's how they had to diffuse it because they cannot argue against it. And if they argue for it, then they get ushered out of the halls of power. But this kind of repression, it grants us validity. It shows that we are a true, valid political tendency and we are relevant. Why would you fight so hard if you're in power? Do you really fight so hard against kooks and weirdos that believe in things that don't exist, have fantasies, some strange religion, some weird off-the-wall culty thing? You don't fight against that. Why? Because it doesn't bother you. It doesn't matter. Who cares? Well, this matters. This matters, and they fear this because they understand. They can characterize us as extremists. They can characterize us as fringe. They can characterize us as terrorists. None of that is true. In fact, we have the common sense viewpoint. The average man would agree with everything we think and say, if not for the massive political repression and social repression that they visit upon us. We have the normal common sense view, and they know it. They know it as well as we know it. We don't have to be ashamed of what we think. We all know that the average man agrees with us. The average man agrees that there's nothing wrong with being white, there's nothing wrong with being heterosexual, pedophiles are sick and need to go to jail, races don't necessarily need to mix together all the time, and we have a right as white people fundamentally and morally to stand up for our political rights. It is our right, we cannot be denied it, and denying it is the immoral thing. And this is not a fringe view. They desperately try to point it as such. Jonathan Greenblatt is up there telling you he wants an act of Congress to prevent us from saying this basic truth online because he knows that if we're allowed to speak freely, we win over the country. He knows that. So a lot of people have said we need to work with the GOP. Well, we tried. We tried. We tried. What happened? We learned that the GOP, actually, there's a lot of theories on what the GOP exists for. There's a lot of theories. Well, some people think they're just open, they're just a gay party. I mean, I understand why you might think that. I can get that, right? But what I've learned about the GOP over the last several years, they actually only have one job. Systematically eliminating us from the public discourse. Convincing us that we can have a place in their organizations behind the scenes, inviting us in, and then pretending to smoke us out, ruin us, fire us, and you're gone. That's it. That's why they're there, and that's the only thing, and you know that's what that organization is about, because it's the only thing they're effective at. The only thing that the GOP is effective at is excluding white nationalism. It's the only thing they do well, and it's the only thing they really seem morally motivated to do. They don't care about abortion. They don't care about homosexual parades in every city. They don't care about protecting your children from this sick stuff that they want to teach at school. They don't care about racial attacks on white people. They don't care about white people, period. And 90% of the voters for that party are white, yet they feel no desire. How many times have we heard, oh, criminal justice reform? What is criminal justice reform? First of all, everybody knows what he's talking about. He's not talking about white people. That's an appeal to blacks. That's a direct appeal to blacks. Oh, we're not going to put you in jail when you commit crimes anymore. Do you think that's an appeal to white men? No. And it shows you that they are more comfortable making a moral appeal to black people on the basis that they will not punish them for crimes that they commit than they are appealing to white men on the basis of their existence. Think about that. The GOP would rather appeal to black criminals than to you. Is that an organization you want to work with? That was one other huge problem. There's one other huge problem with the GOP. You beat me to it. Ideologically and structurally, the GOP has always been the party of big business. They've always been in the pot, all the way back to Abraham Lincoln and before. They're the big business party, always been so. And now they're the party of Zionism. The party of big Zionism. Donald Trump, as we saw, and he's not the first one, he's just the most obvious. You know, he's the lapdog of the Likud party in Israel. Every single thing they want, they get. This seems to be his real agenda. His biggest donors, Sheldon Adelson, Paul Singer, Jared Kushner controls him. This is where Donald Trump is. This is what the GOP is. The GOP, arguably, more controlled by Jews than the Democrats. Arguably. But in reality, it doesn't matter. Because while the Democrats are openly anti-white, what does the GOP tell us? Well, let's be individuals. Let's be individualist conservatives. Let's talk about business and taxes. No. Who does that benefit? That doesn't benefit the average white man. That doesn't protect the average white working man. That's not what any of this is about. Ideologically, structurally, the GOP, representative big business, he's more interested in helping Jeff Bezos, who runs articles every day in his Washington Post about how much white people suck and how much Donald Trump sucks, than he is in protecting the people that actually vote for him. He would rather lose. They would rather lose, and we've known this forever about the GOP. They would rather lose than represent us. So we cannot work with them. We need to replace them. Their destruction is the best thing for us. Where was the GOP when it came to Jillian Wustenberg and her husband? Maybe some of you saw this a few weeks ago, where how a pregnant woman and her husband are at the supermarket. They are attacked, accosted by a group of angry black women, demanding apologies for no reason, trapping them in their car, not letting them leave. And after a few minutes of this assault, Jillian Wustenberg pulls out her gun in order to stop the aggression against her. What happens? She is now in jail on felonious assault. Yet we have Garrett Foster, who pulled his AK-47 on an innocent motorist. Now, he ended up in the grave for that. But the whole media apparatus came to his defense, that he was a wonderful human being, just protecting his Second Amendment rights, which shows you it's not about your Second Amendment rights purely. That is something, but they only care about that if you want to use your Second Amendment right in defense of yourself and your race. You can use it in defense of every gay and non-white thing that they protect all day. You can be some kind of left libertarian, crazy anarcho-communist, and you can point guns at people, as we know from Charlottesville. So that's not just what it's about. The Second Amendment is very important, but it's not purely about that. It's about our rights as sovereign white people to control our own political destinies. And the Wustenbergs deserved a moral and a legal defense, and there was no one there to give it to them. And they are not the only white people that this has happened to over the last several months. Increasingly, this is happening every day to motorists, to pedestrians, to people that run up against these protesters, to anybody that feels like they actually still had rights. And we knew it was coming, and we tried to warn everybody at Charlottesville. But what's the solution to all of this? Well, there's only one solution, that's struggle. That's to fight. And in order to fight, we need to understand what the enemy is. The enemy is capitalism, Zionism, the international Jewish oligarchy. These are the people that are oppressing us, and these are the people that will see and use every ounce of their power. They will lose money. They will spend political capital just to oppress us. Why would they do things like the Charlottesville lawsuit? Why would they spin such absurd narratives that are so obviously counter to the truth, that cost them credibility, if this wasn't the most important thing? Do they fight as hard against other crazy tendencies out there as they do against us? No. The one thing that really activates the ADL and the Washington Consensus is our politics. That alone should flatter us. We should feel good about that. We're the only thing that really threatens these people. This unjust financial and political oligarchy that rules not just America, but Europe, and is coming out of Washington, New York, and Jerusalem. We are the only thing that this thing really fears. So because of that, we need to found a new party based on new ideals, based on the overturning of the neoliberal consensus, getting rid of the idea of the old left-right divide, the Finkelthink that they used to divide whites, that they used to separate us and get us fighting on different teams, looking at things like, oh, did Bill Clinton wear the wrong suit? Did Donald Trump say the wrong thing? Did he use the wrong fork? Who cares? Who cares? We need to unify as a race and as a people and fight for our posterity and our rights and our right to this country which we founded. What are our issues? What are our issues? Our issues are workers' rights, a just and peaceful foreign policy. We will work with other nations, but we will bow to none. A clean environment. Defense of the family. Pro-natal policies. We need to be having children again. freedom of speech and freedom of religion. And when I say that, I don't mean religions masquerading as a supremacy strategy, I mean real religions. True immigration reform and a legal designation of the United States as a European majority country. So, now, I'm not going to lie to anybody here. This is going to be very difficult. In fact, it's probably the most difficult thing any of us, or really anyone in this current society could do. It's more than just physical courage, it's moral courage, because they are going to throw everything at us. But without struggle, what is life worth? What is our life for? If we don't struggle over adversity, life becomes soft, empty, meaningless. We are here to struggle because we want the challenge. We want to fight. So we're here. We are here. We're here for the Wussenbergs. We're here for Kate Steinle, who was killed by an illegal immigrant in cold blood. We're here for Cannon Hinnant, the young boy who was shot brutally in the head by a black criminal for no reason other than his race. For no reason other than his race. They don't want to tell you that that's what it's about, but everybody knows that's what it was about. For Daniel Shaver, killed in cold blood by the police. For Jeremy Martis, likewise killed in cold blood by the police. White men killed by the police. Not, you know. So based on this, we are introducing a new party, and I want to introduce you to them right now. I introduce you, ladies and gentlemen, to the National Justice Party.